lot about the outfield mix, but specifically center field. Kind of how are you viewing that, and who are the names of the candidates there?
Yeah, so I mean, we've got good candidates, right? You know, you've got Johnson that we've signed, who's got experience and versatile guy. Mercado's got 3 years in the big leagues. Of course, we got Marcy and Merrill, and so we've got some guys that we feel can go out and play center field, and we're going to see what it looks like.
This guy like Merrill, is it more of a versatility like center field occasionally, or is that something that he could handle?
And I think we're going to, I know you guys talked to Jackson earlier, you know, we're going to start with, a fair amount of outfield work like we talked about yesterday with Jackson with a combination of center and left. We have some openings, so, he'll get those opportunities.
Do you see anything changing for him, his opportunity with Dirksen coming in, or is it just same thing?
For who? For
Jackson?
For Jackson, no, I think it's the same thing. I think we're in a good spot. Again, being mindful of the fact that, I mean, the good news is Jackson's a versatile player, and he's clearly, I think he's expressed his openness to looking to compete. I know he has to me and our staff. He just wants to get on the field and play in the big leagues. So I know he's ready to do that. Just continuing to be mindful about just the workload and making sure he's getting the opportunities in the outfield, which is still new to him, and still keeping the touches on the infield and making sure we're taking care of Jackson, for now and then, considering a long season ahead.
Jackson still had pretty limited experience at Double-A last season. Offensively, where do you guys feel like he's at entering spring training?
Yeah, Jackson, a lot of guys, they got up and helped that San Antonio club get to the playoffs, but I don't think really any of them had any full season there. So, Marcy and that group and other questions about Merrill and Paulie were able to go to the fall league, which accelerates. Jackson went to the fall league the year before, and has been really intentional about his experience and opportunities in the offseason. So he's in a good place. Again, we do value experiences at the lower levels, but we're not married to the fact that they, what they've had, but we're really growth mindset and opportunistic about what they've been doing leading up to spring training, and most importantly, the opportunities, the evaluation will take place during spring training.
What have you noticed, even going back to last year, just in terms of the way that he's carried himself through this process, especially for still a relatively young player?
Yeah, no, Jackson, I've been super impressed with all our young players in this regard, how they carry themselves. Specific to Jackson, you're talking about a very mature, together young man. Has really got his act together. Player development has done their job, but they've done it well in creating more of a holistic opportunity with Jackson, including the people that, like the Craig Stamens and the A.J. Ellises and Alan Craigs that are now going to help our big league staff. They've poured into Jackson, but Jackson gets all the credit, his maturity, and how he's gone about it. And he's been very intentional about being proactive about learning from other people's experiences and having conversations. And, he's a mature young man.
What's your greatest adjustment here?
Greatest adjustment here as far as managing here? That's a good question. Just really the continuation of making sure that there's alignment across which there is across the organization, top through me to all the way through the player development part and our coaching staff, all the resources that we have in this organization, research development, our sports science department, our strength and conditioning department, just making sure that we're all up to speed on how we're going to operate and with the process that we're going to have, so we can be consistent to create clarity ultimately for our players to compete.
I'm sure you guys have done plenty of an analysis. What are the adjustments that you're making so that what happened last year doesn't repeat itself?
Yeah, listen, everything's we learn from experiences, but we also move forward and grow from them, and we create our own. So, I have experiences creating processes that, from a culture standpoint, from a fundamental standpoint, from a just day-to-day operational standpoint, that we're putting into place, that we're working with our players on to make sure we're partnered with them and we're bringing everybody together and creating clarity. So, you learn, but then you move on and feel really good and confident that we're going fast really slowly. And what I mean by that is, we're getting after it, but we're not just going in a lot of different directions. We're going deep and make sure we have clarity of what we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it, and not trying to go too fast where we're not covering everything thoroughly. So, there's some patience involved with that. People don't like to hear about patience in a game where you have finite times and seasons. And we're definitely looking forward to competing, but we're looking to build something for not only this year but moving forward.
Were you guys take advantage of the rules more and run more and move runners and try to create things?
We'll always be opportunistic relative to what the game tells us based on opportunity. So yes, we're going to be ready to compete and be aware for any and all opportunities. If a stolen base is present, we're going to look to take it. If a hit and run's on the table and we feel like it's an opportunity where we can play the game, we will absolutely do it. And our players will have freedoms to compete with the training to back it up.
What have you enjoyed most since you've been here about being back in this position?
The people. I just enjoy the opportunity to do things with a group that allows us to work together to achieve a common goal. I just love that aspect of team, and I've really enjoyed our staff, and I'm really enjoying our players. It's a good group that's going to do a lot of good things.
What did you learn the last couple years, and maybe specifically last season, about how this collection of guys, especially with the clubhouse leaders, stars, needs to be managed?
I look at it more of collective leadership. I mean, clearly I've got a job for a reason. I've got the autonomy and the responsibility is probably a better word to hold people accountable to what we're doing. But the way I view the world and what's been successful, not only in the past, but I just think is a good way of operating, is making sure everybody's doing it together and on the same page. And that doesn't always mean kumbaya. It just means we're like-minded, going towards the same end goals. And I'm confident that we've had a lot of good discussions with our leadership in our clubhouse, with our leadership in our on our staff and front office, that everybody's synced up and we're going in the right direction and pulling up the same rope, because the organization, the teams that are most functional and work as one living organism moving together are the ones that ultimately get the most out of what they have, and that's all I can ask.
We saw Fernando Tatis Jr. in the clubhouse for the first time this morning, coming off last year. What room does he have to grow even further as a player?
I've said this, but it's worth saying again. I'm really proud of Fernando and what he was able in his growth. If you think about what he has dealt with and how he's able to overcome it and how he went about last season, I thought it was very impressive from just an emotional standpoint and from a character standpoint, how he responded to things. We all have made things and done things, including myself, that we'd like to have done different or better. But it's how you respond. I really was very impressed and pleased for him about how he responded to it. And now, listen, he didn't play for 17 months and had 3 surgeries, and then came into last season overcoming a lot of different things on and off the field, and was able to post and play pretty much every game last year and do a lot of things well, and he did win a platinum gold glove at a new position, so that's pretty darn impressive. So we'll build on that defensively, and now he's coming into a full off season. He got to play winter ball. He got to get comfortable with the swing again. He got to work on a few things that wasn't allowed for him to maybe work on as much during the big league competition, and he comes in with a more normal off season. And you're talking about a super talented guy that's now back and healthy, so watch out.
Like, what about the way that he responded to it? Like, what are some of the things that he did sort of in the face of, like, what he was dealing with last year that stood out to you, that surprised you for somebody that age?
It didn't surprise me, but it was impressive, and what stood out, he owned it. He absolutely owned what took place. He didn't run from it. So he showed up, was greeted with different stadiums, greeting him in different ways, some of them not overly encouraging. And, the guy just went out and he embraced it and he acknowledged it, and he didn't run from any of it. And he showed up every day, and he what I saw was he started to get that enthusiasm for the game, and he started to be who he is, which is a joyful artist on the baseball field. But mostly he owned what he did.
He got a lot of attention for, like, I guess occasionally in right field, sort of egging on the fans. Did you view that as a positive thing in terms of, like, how he was sort of reacting to negativity?
I did. I mean, he embraced it, and he basically said, I hear you, and I'm not going to back down from it. And we just, in some cases, probably had a little fun with it. And I couldn't have handled it near as well.
There were points in the season where at the plate he looked like Fernando Tatis Jr. and other times where maybe there were some lulls. What was your read on that, just kind of the need for reps after the time off and a normal offseason maybe helping in that respect?
Yeah, I mean, look, hardest thing to do in the entire sporting industry is hit a baseball. That can be argued, I suppose. That's not here for debate. But you take 17 months off of doing it, and then you come back. It's not easy to jump back into it as maybe people would expect or hope. But so he got his at bats. He got through it. There were some ups and downs, which is regardless of player. It's just the game's hard. Pitching's gotten better in the sense of more velocity, better game planning, defensive positioning. So hitting is more challenging. I think the numbers represent that. But yeah, now he's got those experiences, guys all season. Now it's time for him to take that next step again, get back to the dominant player that he's excited to be.
When center field and left field opened up on the roster after the Grisham and Soto trade, was there any formal discussion with Fernando about the possibility of him, say, moving to center?
Yeah, we talked in the Dominican that he was going to play center and right at the same time. And he was okay with that. And I was just going to petition the league, like, listen, if we can have him hit second and seventh and have a pinch runner for him, would you guys be okay if we played with an outfielder short and just have Toddy play, right and center? But he gets to hit twice. And he was on board with it, and so it hadn't got much traction. But if anybody could do it, it'd be him. So he feels good and right. He could play clearly anywhere in the field.